invited to New Zealand by the Dunedin Chamber of Commerce. Prejudice against them quickly led to calls for restrictions on their immigration. Basically, they were coming across, they were setting up businesses, doing far better than anybody else, and everybody was getting a little bit ticked off at it. So, New Zealand government passed the Chinese Immigration Act in 1881, and this imposed a £10 tax per Chinese person entering New Zealand and permitted only one Chinese immigrant per 10 tonnes of cargo. So you couldn't fill up a boat full of Chinese people and bring them to New Zealand anymore. You had to bring normal cargo with you as well. Of course, this ended up still not to stop the flow, and so the government increased the tax to £100 per head only a few years later, and tightened the other restriction so that only one Chinese immigrant to 200 tonnes of cargo was allowed. So basically every ship was only allowed one Chinese immigrant. That's all they were allowed to bring in with them. The Act, very rightly so, was repealed in 1944 because of the events of World War II. So that tax lasted right up until 1944. New Zealand, very progressive in some areas, not so progressive in others. The final migration that I want to talk about today is the Kiwis to sunshine. A little bit of tongue-in-cheek, but just bear with me. We have this big problem in Australia. The Kiwis are coming. New Zealand's population is 4.2 million people currently today. And about 500,000 of them, give or take a little bit, live in Australia currently. About 1 in 8.5 live in Australia. 100,000 of these, or 1 in 5, are actually on the Australian welfare currently. Now, you laugh at that. There's a higher percentage of Australians on welfare than the Kiwis, so you can't really put that bad. But it does cost us $1.1 billion annually to feed and take care of all these Kiwis. The rate of increase is about 30,000 immigrants per year, and I've done the math. All New Zealanders will live in Australia by 2150. Of course, as long as their birth rate doesn't increase, but nonetheless. Now, folks, if you did find this subject interesting, there is a lot more further study you can do, and there's many different forms, depending on how you like to get information. There's a beautiful book called Out of Eden, this one here, which describes the real Eve quite well. If books aren't your thing, you can watch the Discovery Channel documentary called The Real Eve. This one here, 5 billion people from one woman. Also very interesting, goes really, really into depth about the most recent common ancestor. There's also a fictional Hollywood movie called The Man from Earth. Anybody seen it? No one? Yeah, I think it went straight to video. It also covers this subject quite nicely. It's a fictional story, just a bunch of professors sitting in a room, but it is a really, really good movie, and it covers the same subject. Also, the Bradshaw Foundation has some great stuff on their website as well. So remember, 3 things you should take from this lecture, which I definitely have taken from all this research. We are all brothers and sisters from the same mother, sharing the same home. I think there's no better time than right now to understand that one. Canoes are safe in the harbour, but that's not what canoes are built for. Okay? That's how we migrated around the world, by jumping in those ships and just going to the next shore. And nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Okay? No matter how many times we fell, how many times things blew up in our faces, we kept persistence and we kept travelling, and now we are on every continent in the world. So pat ourselves on the back. We've done quite well. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you've enjoyed it.